Okay, so good morning, guys. So let us start our journey in understanding uh, into a new topic, which we call it as a SRE, Site Reliability Engineering. So, guys, this is a new topic, or this is a new playlist which will be coming up. And before that, let us try to like today is our SRE-Day-1 session, and the date is 14th of March, April 2024. And the timing is morning 9:30 a.m. IST. So thank you guys for joining this call. And today, as it's Sunday today, but I've seen that a lot of people have joined the session. So guys, we are starting a very a new topic, which is a very hot trending topic in the industry, which is site reliability engineering. So sometimes people call this as monitoring also, something related to monitoring. Or more specifically, there is one key which always we use known as the observability. Observability. So this is what we use. This keys we use observability or SRE. These are the common things which we use. So this is somewhat a very hot discussion which is happening in the industry nowadays, right? You would have seen that there are a lot of requirements are there in SRE, right? And even in your job description, and also even like in many industries, you will find a lot of new profile jobs will get created, which is made by SRE engineers, right? So like, so we are trying to understand like what exactly SR is all about, and uh, you know like uh, so before we start SRE, what I would try to tell you today that so since it is today's day 1 session, I'll not be getting too much technically discussing on what exactly is SR is all about, right? What are the what you call the metrics and all. I will not really get into very much deeper. We will try to get into the deeper in our upcoming sessions. Okay, so today we'll have just a basic, very simple explanation on what exactly is SR is all about and what is the purpose of learning or understanding SRE and where we use this SRE. So we will be discussing in a very high level today, right? So that is one thing. And secondly, that no, like we'll not get a deep dive into any kind of a technical discussion today. Okay, so we'll make it very simple, and also we'll try to understand like what was a need for this SRE, right? And why? Because like all these days, like as we know that we all are working into the DevOps profile, right, or into the cloud profile, or into DevSecOps profile. So now suddenly, like all these days, we were very happy working on DevOps, and suddenly we came across with SRE. And is there any need for understanding or learning SRE, right? If it is so, why we have to do that? So all those questions, right? We will be discussing all this today. Clear. Now, before we start it, actually, guys. So what I want to tell you. Firstly, this course is free of cost, so there is no charge for this. So all these recordings, whatever you're doing, that I'll be uploading in my channel. Okay, so that anyone can go through it and they can learn this SRE topic. That is one thing. And the second important thing is that actually like we will go in little slower pace at the very beginning. So I will not be able to take this session on it every day because due to my office work and due to my other personal reasons, right? I may not be able to take this session very every day. Actually, I'll be taking it minimum, like I will be trying to take this session for like 2 sessions in a week actually. Initially, I'm saying it's not like that. I will be like that because initially I might take it very slow pace actually. Okay, 1 second. So initially I will go with very slow pace, minimum of 2 sessions, right? And max we can go up to 3 also in our upcoming weeks actually. Okay, so this week at least, like today we have started on Sunday, maybe the next class I might call you on to come on Wednesday actually, right? After 3 days, Wednesday evening time, I might come here. I might tell you to come at 7 o'clock or something like that. So please, whoever are available, please attend the session. Again, in the next weekend, next Sunday, I might take the third session. So that is one thing. And second thing is that actually like I might take little bit lengthier session because we need to cover up so many stuffs in this SRE, right? So just taking 1 hour session and covering just for 2 hours in a week, right? It will not suffice. Minimum, I will be trying to cover for 1.5 to 2 hours of class on each and every session, so that we will be covering as much as possible in each and every session, right? So if I am covering 2 hours and in a week I'm just taking minimum 2 sessions, so almost we are covering 4 hours of session. So it is almost like every day if I take 1 hour, right, we are covering the 4 day session. So in that 4 days class, if I'm taking in 2 sessions, so okay, so it is good that like we are covering like as much as possible in each and every session. Is it clear? So, but this will not be the same. What I would say that actually, like in our upcoming, maybe after 2 weeks, something, I might call you to come for 3 days of in a week, actually, right? And what are the things which we'll be discussing as a part of SRE and all, right? We'll be discussing in our upcoming, in our upcoming sessions. I'll be discussing about that, or maybe at the end of this, I might tell you like what exactly we are covering as part of the SRE. So I have not yet prepared the syllabus, guys. So I will be preparing that and I'll share with you also, right? So, so till now, any questions you have, guys? So are you fine with this? So minimum 2 sessions in a week we'll cover at the very initial, and later we will go with more sessions. Okay. So this, like how much time it might require us to cover all these things. So it depends upon like how many tools we are covering as part of this SRE, right? Suppose if I'm covering around 2 to 3 tools, say for example, if I'm covering on Elasticsearch, so one of the tool is Elasticsearch or Elastic Stack basically, right? Formerly we used to call it ELK. There are many other tools like Prometheus with Grafana, right? Or else New Relic, or else we have something like Dynatrace, right? So it depends upon how many tools we are covering, right? It might the course might go little like lengthier. But what I'm suspecting that I'll be covering something minimum of 3 tools, right? As a part of this SRE course. So like Elastic Stack is the one which I'll be covering at the very beginning. Once this completes Prometheus with Grafana, I'm going to cover at the second as a second tool, and the third tool I might cover is a Dynatrace. There are a number of tools are there, right? You might say about what about Splunk, what about Zabbix, what about like Datadog. There are many tools are there. The number of tools is endless, guys. So we can't discuss everything. But yeah, of course, like whatever the main core tools which are used across the industry, right? So we will be covering those tools actually. So whichever these 3 tools which I'm saying, right, like Elastic Stack, Prometheus, and Dynatrace, and even Datadog also to some extent, right? All these tools are predominantly used in almost most of the industries. So we will be covering as part of this course actually. And it will take time, guys. It is not that easy that I can cover Elastic Stack in 2 or 3 sessions. No, it might take, I might need minimum some 8 sessions or 10 sessions to complete it. Prometheus with Grafana, I might need around some 10 sessions. So it is going to be a very big, like course actually, but we will not be able to complete it in 1 or 2 months also. It might take. So it's a slow process. That's what I mentioned, that it's a very slow process. As and when I get time, in every week, right? Whichever day, right? I will definitely call you guys. So as you know, like we have a WhatsApp group, so I'll be, like I'll be mentioning over there, like you can join it. Whoever are available, please join. And like whoever are unable to join, so I would request them to go through the recording. Clear? So fine. Now, so today is a day one, guys. So as I mentioned, right, I will not be getting into much of the technical details about SRE, but we are going to understand at the very high level what exactly SRE is all about and why we have to learn SRE. So all these days we were happy in working in DevOps, and suddenly we have to learn SRE, right? So that's what, and we have come across with many of the other different types of works which comes under the DevOps, right? Like you might have heard about something as a DevSecOps also, right? So DevOps, or else you might have even heard about DevSecOps, and also like we have heard about this SRE, right? So we will be discussing about now, like what is the difference between these three, because some of us have some kind of a confusion, right? We are not able to clearly distinguish between what DevOps engineer does and what DevOps and or else what SRE engineers does, right? We have a slight confusion over here, or else our understanding is not clear. So we are going to understand about that now, that what exactly roles and responsibility is done by the various different engineers in the industries, right? Even like nowadays, you might have heard about like ML ops, right? Like a lot of people are working on ML ops, AI ops, right? Artificial intelligence ops or ML ops. So like that, you have different sections within the DevOps where people are working, right? So we will be trying to understand now, like what exactly the differences between these three different jobs, right? DevOps, DevSecOps, and SREs, right? See, like whenever you are learning DevOps and cloud technology, right? You can definitely work in any of this area. Nobody will stop you to work. Okay. So it means that actually, if you have learned DevOps tools and technology and also the cloud, right? You are eligible to work either in DevOps or DevSecOps or SRE. You are eligible to work. But there are slight differences are there which you need to update yourself to make sure that you're being called as a DevSecOps. Similarly, you need to update little bit more in DevOps. Apart from the DevOps tools, right? Little more you need to update so that you need to apply a job as an SRE job. So what are those things which makes it differ between these three that we'll be discussing now? Okay. And also like what are the common things which most of this engineer does? There are many common things are there, guys, which most of the people does. Even the DevOps engineers also does some of the common work industry, even the DevSecOps and even the SRE also. So it's something like like in maths, right? Like in a maths topic, right? We have a mathematics. We have something as a set theory. Have you heard about set theory? You say that okay, there is something like like intersection. There is a circle is there like this, right? And you have one more circle, and you have one more circle, right? You could see that there is something like a common intersection between these three circles, right? Right? Of course, every circle has its own individuality, but when they come into the set theory, when they try to intersect, actually, there is something known as a common region over. So this is something like a common work or the common area where all these three engineers work actually. But apart from this, there are many other works are there which they individually they work actually. Means individually they are well versed with that work actually. So we will be trying to understand like what exactly the common area which all these three engineers works, and what exactly it makes the difference, right? To make sure that you will be called as a DevSecOps or you'll be called as an SRE, right? See, when you go for an interview, like you will be asked many things in a DevOps actually, but also sometimes they'll be asking about the DevSecOps also. So there, what happens? Slightly, you have to tell something extra more so that they will understand that you know about the DevSecOps. Similarly, when you are going interview for the DevOps, right? Slightly they might ask you something more where you need to tell us something about the SRE, where they will try to understand, okay, he knows about the SRE concept also. So what is that slightly extra thing which you need to know and all that also we'll be discussing in this as a part of this today's session. Is it clear, guys? So I hope that you caught the context right, what we'll be discussing now. And it's not only this, like I'm not telling you that in the point of the interview like that, because we are not come across to that stage where we'll start attending interview, because we are learning now actually. And right, like we need to learn many things, and then like we need to make our concepts very clear, and then only we can attend interview. But I'm just telling in a very high level that if you go for interview, you should at least know the differences between these three sections actually: DevOps, DevSecOps, and SRE. I know some of you already know this. It's not like that you doesn't know, but maybe for some other people, right, who are from a non-technical background or who are just entered into the DevOps or who know theoretical aspect of DevOps, they might not know the difference actually properly. So this discussion, right, will give some insight picture. Correct. Now, guys, so how we can able to understand? So what we are going to do now, that we are going to understand the roles and responsibilities. So guys, like what I'll be doing, as many of you know that actually I'll be writing a running notes also on day to day. So today is a day one, so I will create a separate notes for the day one. So I'll also share this notes to you at the end of the day in our same group. Okay. And every day, like, we'll be having a different note, so that like we'll be able to differentiate between what we did in the previous session and what we're going to do that. So that notes and all will be available. And the recording, as I said, right, like after the session completes, you can expect this recording to be uploaded in an hour in the channel, so that you can go through it and you can watch the recording. So now, so we have to understand, guys, what are the roles and responsibilities. Now, so before that, like, let us try to understand, like, actually in the industry, like, how exactly the projects are developed. Like, there are many kind of projects, right? Like, for example, uh, you have something like a e-commerce projects which are developed, right? You are having something like a billable projects which are developed, right? Similarly, you have something like a payroll management system, right, which are developed, or else something like a hospital management systems, applications which are usually used in your hospitals and all, right, to keep the records of all the patients. So that there are n number of different types of applications are developed by the industry, right? So now, let me open the MS Paint. Now, assume that actually, like, your product is developed, right? And there has to be some person who sells your product, right? Say, for example, you have developed the payroll applications, right? So you have developed the payroll application. Suppose your company has developed the payroll application. I'm just taking some payroll application, right? What exactly payroll application, guys? It's something like in every organization, right? Like, basically, you have something like a payroll system where you can view your pay slips, right? Where you can view all your income tax filing and all, right? So that is something like a payroll applications, right? So every company, like, suppose, like, you're having a company by name Ford company, right? Ford company are manufacturer of the cars, but they need a payroll system, because they need to provide a salary slips, and all income tax filing and all has to be provided for each and every employee, right? So they need this application. So basically, so your company is involved in the payroll management system, right? So you have a, suppose on that it's a payroll management system. So in every organization, guys, you have something known as a sales manager, right? So you know very well that what the sales manager does. So let me take the some images. Sales manager, something clip art. So I'm seeing some good, the image actually. So you know that always the sales engineer are very smart engineers, right? Well dressed with some, boot. So okay, let me take this image. So he's your sales engineer, guys. Right. And this is the one actually who is going to sell your product actually to your end customer. So he will try to explain about all this payroll applications and everything to the external client. And like, he is going to get it sell and get the revenue for our organization. Right. So you have a sales engineer actually. Or sometime in we call it as a pre-sales engineer also. Pre-sales engineer. So these are smart people. They know how to, like, interact with your end client, and know make sure that the product is getting sold. Right. Now, so basically, so fine, this is fine. Assume that, okay, this is fine. Okay, you have an application, but assume that actually your company is building some product actually. Say that your company is building the payroll management system itself. So it means that you're building the whole product actually. Right. So now what happened, right? Initially, what happened, right? When you want to build any product, first you need to come up with the requirements actually. Right. You need to come with the requirement actually. Right? So you need to basically come with some kind of a requirements initially. Right? So basically what happened, the pre-sales engineers or the sales engineer, right, they come up with the requirement, or else some business analyst in the organizations, right, they come up with the requirement, say, okay, this is the kind of a requirement we have, and for this we need to develop a product, or we need to develop a software for this, right? So for that, what the industry does, organization does that, they hire some kind of developers, some kind of a senior architect people, right? Developer, senior architect people. Say, for example, you have something known as a uh, developers, right? Developers. So these are the developers. right? These are the developers, right? So what happened basically, there is some kind of a requirement which comes in where they mention that, okay, this is the requirement and I need to build a product on that actually, right? And for that, what happened, right? You will hire some kind of a senior architect actually in the organization. So you know that you have a senior architect who try to understand the whole thing, like, okay, for that application to work, right? What kind of a system requirement I have, right? And also like how much time it will take, what should be your entire architecture of your application, how the application works, right, at the client. That everything is designed by the senior architect, and he will try to come up with the the entire architect and the requirement for to develop the application or the product, and he will hand over to the developers actually. So now what the developer will do, the developer will start writing the code actually for that, right? They can use any language to develop the code, and they'll start writing the code for that, right? So whatever the requirements is there, right, that would be provided by the sales engineer or else by the business analyst. Senior architect will try to understand about the requirement, and he will come up with the whole architecture flow diagram. Plus, he will also come up with what kind of a system requirements we need and what should be the architecture, how exactly this works at the client, and everything he will come across. And finally, the requirement will be given to the developers. And developer, what he will do that he will start writing the code for that. He will start writing the code, right? So once he writes a code, so you know that actually there are some kind of a testers are there in the organization, right? Where they test the product or where they test the application. So we have something as a QA engineer actually, or the test engineer, QA engineer. Correct, guys? So like, so these are the QA engineers. I'm taking some image. So we have a dev engineer, we have a QA engineer. So what the QA engineer will do, they will take the code what is developed by the developers, and they'll try to test it, and they'll try to certify whatever you have written, right, it is working fine, right? So this happens, right? And after that, what happened, right, you have something known as a administrator, right? Administrator or operations team, right? Administrators or operations team, whatever you call, right? So this is something like uh, I'll just take some uh, yeah, this looks good because this has a lot of systems with him, right? So this team is something like operations teams actually, or we call it as administrative team. So what they do, these operations teams, guys. So whatever the code which has been developed and tested, right? Finally, what the operation team will do, that operation team will going to take that code and is going to deploy into the server actually, and he makes sure that the code or the application will be up and running. So that's what the operation team does, right? Or the administrative team does, right? And after that, like what happened, right? Once you deploy the application into the end server, you need to give that application to your end customer, actually, right? So what you're going to do that you're going to give to the customer. So basically, what you're doing here, as part of the development activity, you develop it and you test it, everything, and finally, what the operation team do that they're going to push the code into the production or the live server, and finally they will make sure that their application is up and running in your production live environment, and finally, the application access will be given to your end customer. This is what usually it happens in almost all the projects, whatever we developed in the organization. So let me go it. So let me go with some customer. So he's your customer actually, or he's this customer looks so happy, but usually customers are not very happy. But we'll try to take this image that like, okay. So so he's our customer. He's our customer. He's our end customer. Correct, guys. So you know that there is always a flow now. Here you could see that the requirement comes, the requirement goes to the developer, and after the code is developed, what exactly it does, the QA engineer does, they're going to verify the code by using some testing strategies. And later, once the testing is completed, once they say that, okay, everything is fine, looks good. So then the operation teams take care of deploying that application to your end server or another, but to the production server. And finally, what happened? The access will be given to your, the access will be given to a customer where he can access that application, right? So now, guys, so for doing that, every company follows some process actually. Every company follows some process, and you know that the very beginning, you remember, like if some of you already know this, that we were using something like a waterfall model. Right, waterfall model is something like a kind of a sequential way of working, right? Say for example, whenever the requirement comes in, right, whenever the requirement comes in, right, so say for example, the business analyst or the sales engineer, they come up with the requirement actually. So say assume that they are going to take like 1 month time to come up with the requirement. 1 month of time they will take to come up with the whole requirement. So once the requirement comes in, so the work will be given to the developer, and developer might take some time. Maybe say assume for example, the developer might take something like a 6 month to complete the whole coding part. The whole coding, the whole development activity will take around 6 months of time. And after it completes, right, you will be giving the testing jobs. The testers is going to test the product, and they might take their own time. So they might take around like 3 months to complete the testing job, right? And the operation team might take like, I'm just saying that 1 month time they might take you to do the complete activity of the operations work, right? Deploying and everything, verifying and making the application up. So they might take around 1 month of time. So now in the waterfall model, since it is a sequential model, you see that at every stage, right, they're taking their own sweet time to work on it actually, right? And now the thing, like, what is the drawback in the waterfall model? Like, is that actually like you will be giving your end product, right, after the completion of this entire life cycle, or after completion of entire life cycle, you will be giving or you'll be handling that application to your customer. Now, if you, so how much time you took, guys? 6 plus 1, 7, 7 plus 3, 10, 11. Almost a year you took a time, 1 year time, to complete this whole development of this payroll application. And finally, you're handing over that application to the customer. Now, the customer might come back and say that, no, boss, this is not what I was requiring. So my requirement is not at all matching with what you have developed it. Or this is not what I was looking for. So it means that actually, guys, what happened, right? Whatever the effort you have invested in this whole 1 year, right? You need to again do a rework of it. So here, the drawback of this waterfall model is that actually the customer never sees the development of the application at the very initial stage. You'll only be introduced or you'll only be called at the end moment to see how this application is being developed. So there might be a chance where there might be a lot of changes he might require during the development, right? He might need it actually, but we are not incorporated it, right? And one more biggest drawback of the waterfall model is that actually, see guys, we might have took around 1 year to do it actually. But you know that the technology changes, a lot of new requirement comes, right? You need to always incorporate the new changes or the new requirement or the new technology, what is coming in, right? Right. So those things in a waterfall model you cannot accommodate actually, right? So what happened right here? Uh, the basic thing is that the customer is never been included at the very beginning of the development. He's always been he has always been asked to check the whole product at the end actually, which might mismatch his requirement. There are many cases are there where it might mismatch or it might even require to do some changes, right? So it might take a lot of time actually. So hence what happened, waterfall model is not recommended model which is used, right? So we know that most of the organizations now, we never use this waterfall model. We use some other models nowadays, right? Like what is that? We use something like a agile model, right? Most of us, we know that we started working on the agile model. right? Agile model or agile methodology, right? Now, what this agile model says that now you say that actually that whenever the requirement comes and the requirement will be given to the developers, right? So what the developer will do, that developer will start working on the requirement. But what I just said that, right? It's not like that you will be completing all the requirements, right? You might take at least you might take some few requirements or the very initial requirement you take. You will start working on the very initial requirements onto that application. So you might take some few requirements. Say, for example, like when you're developing an application, say, for example, okay, you say that, okay, Rajesh, I've developed an application where now you can at least log into the application and you log out. That's all. It means that whenever you log in it, you have to see, okay, welcome to this customer name, and you can easily log out. That is very initial stage of development. So what you do that basically that when a developer is developing it, so in case of agile methodology or in case of agile process, we do something like a early release actually. What is it, guys? We use something like a early release. What is early release? Something like you say that actually like we are going to release or we are going to release whatever we have designed, right? Within a span of 2 weeks actually. In a span of 2 weeks, we are going to develop something and deploy and showcase to our end customer. Say that this is what we have developed. Just cross verify whether it is matching to a requirement. So it means that the customer can see all the changes, whatever, or the customer can see the application development at the very initial stage. So that this is a very good practice because every 2 weeks you will be releasing it and you will be showcasing to the customer. So customer will be keep interacting with the development activity and he will see the changes, whatever you're doing. And also if he needs any kind of further changes, he can give as part of the requirement and that would be taken care. Right. So this is a very good model, guys, agile model, because that you will be involving the customer at the very initial stage itself. Even the whole, like kind of a development of the application, the customer can watch what exactly, how far the application development has progressed, right? Like, and also like he can actually verify and see and feel about that application. Okay, this is how the application works. So this is a very good method of using the agile process. And you know that almost all industries on any kind of a product development, right? Any application you develop, let it be a e-commerce application, or a payroll application, or let it be something like a SAP application, whenever it has been developed, they always use this agile mode. Correct? Right. So if I want to really give an analogy between the waterfall model and agile model, like for example, like earlier we had something like we used to take something like a photographs where we used to insert some rolls or reels, right, in our camera. Say for example, we had earlier before digital came into picture, right? We had something known as a uh, like Kodak camera or Konica camera, Yashica camera, right? Where we used to buy some 100 rupees reel and now used to do it. We used to insert that into the camera and we used to take the photos actually. Now, once you take the photos, what happened, right? The reels you used to give to the for developing it actually. You used to go to the film studio and photo studios and used to give that. What they do, right? Basically, they pull the reel entire from that reel box and then like they will do some kind of a film developing. And you would have seen in many movies, like there will be some kind of a liquid will be there where there will be the people who are working in the photo studio, right? They will be sitting in a dark place. There will be some kind of a liquid will be there where they will try to after filming it, they take that photo, insert into the water and see that the film is coming up very clearly, or as the photo is coming very clearly. Right? So what we do basically, right? We will make sure that, okay, we will give that reel to the photo studio and they will develop and they'll give the photographs at the end of the day. But right, so what the film studio will do, that they directly take it and they'll try to make do a film developing and then try to take a photo of it and finally hand over that photo to you. But when at the end, what you do, that when I enter into the Photoshop and like take all the photographs, right? I want to collect all the photographs, right? You would see that some photos have become very blur, right? Some photos, like you have seen that there a lot of sunlight will be there, some shade will be there. So you'll become very angry with that person and you will say, what is this nonsense man you did? Okay, at least you should could have avoided to take all these photos, right? So what happened basically, like you were going to see all those photos at the end after the photo is developed, right? So that is not the right way, right? Because as an end customer, I should know like how things are working on, right? But whereas same thing, if you take an agile process, the same photos, right? Nowadays you have got a digital camera. Now what you will do that you will take a photos and immediately you will show the photos to the end client saying, okay, sir, this is how the photos come. Do you need any changes? Oh, he will say, no, sir, it is not looking good. Okay, do a rework on it. Okay, you will do a rework on it, or you will take one more photographs. And again, you show the photo to the customer and say, okay, how now you look at how it looks like. And you will say, okay, he will confirm, okay, this photo looks good. Okay, you can take a print of it. So it's something like that. So agile process is something like where you are digitally working something where you are giving a continuous feedback and you are giving continuous, development activity to the end customer. Whereas something like a waterfall is something like where you'll be showcasing at the very end actually. Correct, guys? So till now here, are you okay, guys? Any doubts you have? Right. So now, so as part of this activity, right, what the DevOps engineer or the operation team engineer does that actually, they will try to take the code, what has been developed by the developer, and they will go and they try to deploy into your servers actually, right? And so that's the reason, guys, you could see that in the organization, right? You need a team, operation teams, or more specifically called the DevOps teams, who play a very vital role actually. Right. So this is what the requirement comes in the industry, that where, okay, they want to even hire a person who knows something on DevOps actually, or who is an administrator or who is an operation team actually, right? Because whatever the code is developed, finally there has to be a person who has to do a deployment, or who has to, who has to make sure that the application up and running into the server actually, right? So now what happened, the DevOps engineer who has been hired, do you think that while when he's working in any kind of a project which is developed, do you think that he's going to do everything manually? Yeah, of course, like when you're working on the agile, at the very initial stage, when you're working on the first week, and when the development has worked and you are going to give the demo to the end customer, right? The first initial stage, maybe the operation teams or the DevOps engineer, he might do manually to do the deployment, and he might do all manual stuff to do that. It might consume a time initially, but later, once the development start working progressively, right? What happened? The DevOps engineer cannot rely on doing everything manually. He has to do an automation, actually, right? So operation team or DevOps teams, right? They will use an automation actually. So automation means they have to deploy that application, right, to the different environments actually, right? So you need to have some kind of a automation mechanism, automation tools you have to use to make sure that things works very faster in agile method or into the agile process. Clear, guys? So for doing that, for doing an automation task, what the DevOps engineer will do? So what is the response? What DevOps engineer does to do an automation task? So the first important thing what the DevOps engineer will do. So this is for the DevOps engineer. So what is the roles of the DevOps engineer? What he will do that? Like, can some of you can tell what he does? Okay, something like building CI/CD pipelines to create various environments. What do you mean by various environments? So you know that, yes, you have something known as a dev environment, you have something known as a QA or the test environment, right? You have something as a UAT environment, you have something as a prod environment. See, these are the different environments where we have. And why we have this environment, why we have a dev environment, why you have a QA environment. Basically, dev environment is something like where, like whatever the developer is doing the coding, right? He can verify and test it actually. So he need an environment to do that. So that's the reason he has a dev environment. So what exactly a DevOps engineer will do that? He's going to create the dev environment so that the developer can do the all kind of a development activity into that environment. Right? Similarly, what happened? You have a QA environment where the QA engineers will be start testing the product actually. Again, what happened? It is not like only one environment, guys. There could be something like a sub environment within the QA environment. Say, for example, you say that, okay, like Rajesh, I need some kind of environment where I can do something like a uh, performance testing. Performance testing I want to do. So you need to create a separate environment, guys, for this actually, right? Right. Something like you say that I need I need a specific way, like where I need more memory, more RAM memory, or more CPU. So you need to create an environment where there is a higher hardware configurations are there, right? So you might need some more sub environments to be created within the QA. So that also is done by the DevOps engineer. Okay, it's all depend upon the testing strategies, whatever the company adopts, right? Or whatever the company adopts. Based on that, you need to create an environment. Right, UAT environment is the one actually what happened, right? This is an environment which will be showcasing to the end customer, as we said, right? Every 2 weeks, right? We need to showcase the demo to the customer, say that where we are, what we have developed it, right? So that he can give his feedback. So where we are going to showcase all those changes, whatever we did it or whatever we developed it, we are going to showcase in the UAT environment. UAT environment is something like we can even call it as a pre-prod. Also, we can call it as a staging environment. Normally prod environment, or we can even call it as a live environment. Right. So this is the basic activity of what the DevOps team will do, that to make sure that he achieve the automation, he has to build CI/CD pipeline. Initially, you will do manually, but moving forward, you cannot do the process, everything process manually, because like there are a lot of changes will be keep happening. To make sure that you are building a lot of different environments, you need to do some kind of an automation. So to do the automation, you need to do some kind of you need to build a CI/CD pipeline. This is very much required. Clear? Now guys, one question to all of you. Now, suppose assume that actually I'm doing some automation. Do you think that the automation is going to always get succeed? So suppose assume that I'm building a CI/CD pipeline. Do you think that when I write a CI/CD pipeline, do you think it's going to start working at the very beginning? No, right? It will always fail, and you're prone. It is prone to fail, and you need to, like as a DevOps engineer or as an operation engineer, you need to accept that failure. Failures are always must actually, right? Without failures, people say that if you're not seeing any failures, so it means that there is something like a flaw is there actually. And also you say that you see more and more failures, you're going to build a more and more robust product, right? So failures are required, right? And we need to accept that failures. And also, so it means that whenever accepting, you have to accept it as a normal. See, suppose for example, when you're developing an application, right? When you're developing application, when the operation teams or anybody sees the failure, actually, they have to take it as a normally. They cannot say that, okay, I have found this issue. It will take a lot of time for me to fix all this. No, you have to accept that failure. And also you should be able to fix them very quickly or fix them as soon as possible. You cannot take you cannot take more time to fix it. And they said, okay, I need more time. No, it doesn't works out in that way, right? So what I have to do that, what the DevOps engineer has to do that when he's automating, he might come across with a lot of failure. You need to accept this failure, accept the failures. Accept the failures as normal and try to fix them as soon as possible. So this is the basic principle of any DevOps engineer. So whenever you see that in an organization, right, you would see that what exactly the role and responsibility of the DevOps engineer. Always what he does, either he will be involved in doing a fixing of any kind of a failures which happens on a day-to-day activity, or else he will be building the CI/CD pipeline. This is what normally the DevOps engineer will do. These are the two roles he will be doing. At the bare minimum, that he will be developing the CI/CD pipelining, or you would see that he will be fixing some failures, right? So this is what it happens. See, later what happens, you will come across a lot of tools actually. So suppose you say that, Rajesh, I want to build an infrastructure into the cloud. Okay, you have a Terraform, right? I need to, orchestrate the containerization or containers. You need a Kubernetes. So the tools and technologies will come later. But what exactly you need to do means you need to able to fix any kind of a failures or issue which comes in as a process of whenever you're doing automation. That is what the DevOps team will do. Later, the tools and technologies will come where you need to learn about all those tools and all to make it more, effective in automation. Of course, you will be relying on the tool actually, right? Like Terraform, Docker, Ansible, Kubernetes, any tools, right? That is a secondary part, but you need to understand, okay, first is that actually what are the roles and responsibilities, that you need to see that how fast you're going to fix the failures. That is what the minimal thing which is done by the DevOps engineer then. right? And also like he has to even build a CI/CD pipeline for various environment which is required. Clear, guys? Is it clear till here? Are you okay? I know it took some time for us to understand, but anyhow, this was required because we'll be like whatever we'll be discussing upcoming, right? This is the context, whatever we'll be discussing, right? This is what we'll be like, this is the context for that actually. That's what I just want to bring all this point. Now,
Yeah, it is fixed by developers.
yes, of course, see, when there is a issue with the code, right? Of course, like, see, sometime what happened, right? Whenever the operation team is working, suppose assume that he sees that there is some issue with his pipeline, what is mentioned or what is as written. Of course, he has to go and fix it in the pipeline only. So whenever the operation teams or adoption see that there is any issue in the environment, it is his responsibility to fix it. Suppose see, one of the major role of the DevOps engineer is that actually he has to analyze the failure also. Plus, he has to even identify from which area this failure is coming from. Either you will say that, okay, you'll say, Rajesh, there is some failure has happened, but it is coming from the testing team. He has to inform them, okay, boss, this is the issue which is coming from your end. Kindly fix it. Similarly, when the DevOps is deploying or he's doing the CI/CD activity, he might come across where he might see that there is some issue with the coding only, right? He has to inform to the developer saying that, okay, this is your area, boss, please try to fix the code. So DevOps engineer will never go and fix the code, guys. He is not, because he doesn't do that actually. It is done by the developers, right? So what the DevOps engineer will do that, he will try to like check if what are the failures he will face as part of the automation, right? And then try to evaluate from which area this failure is coming and try to inform them, as well as even building a pipeline. Clear? Clear, guys? Now, apart from all this development activity, whatever it is going on, so this is a common actually, guys. This is the something like a normal like flow. So every organization might use a different like process altogether, but you could see that at the end, right? This is what exactly happens in every company. So you have a requirement, or you have a requirements, you have a development, you have a testing, and you have a operations, and finally you will hand over that application to a customer. This is normal, but there might be many other changes are there which each and which every company incorporates actually, right? Now, there is one more very interesting thing, guys, which is coming into this entire flow. There is something known as a security actually. There is something known as a security. Now, for example, like this security stuff, like it came just few years back, like 3, 4 years back only, this started coming up very hugely. And like whenever you develop an application, you will try to say that, okay, whether your application, whatever develop the application, right, whether it is prone to any security vulnerabilities. So whether the application, what you have developed and what you have, deployed into the production, whether there is any issue with the code. It means that whether there's any security vulnerabilities are with that application or with that code actually. So that's the reason what happened there. There is something very interesting team which is sitting in every organization, which we call the security team, actually, right? So just I'm just taking some image, something security. What is it? Engineer. Yeah. Mm, I'm looking for some good image actually. Okay, it looks good. So there is something called security engineer which comes into the picture now. Okay. Now the problem with the security is that actually, so he's a security actually. He's from the security team. Security team. So he's a security engineer, which actually. This font is very small. Right. Now the problem with the security team, what happened, right? They come at the very end actually. In every project, actually, they come at the very end. Once the whole application is developed and deployed, right? Finally, the secretary will be called and is going to check the vulnerability of that application. And he said, boss, there is some kind of a problem with this application. So there are a lot of security threats are there with the application. So you didn't apply it so and so, so and so. Like that's the reason what happened, that there are, this application is, there is a security vulnerability. There are security threats to it. Well, so kindly fix all these things, like that it will say. So then it is a nightmare for everything, because you need to follow the same process to implement the security in that application. Okay, so this is a very bad thing in many projects or in many companies, right? They incorporate the security aspects at the very end moment, or at very lately they try to incorporate it. Now you say that in the agile process, you say that no, boss. Now, since we are in agile model, agile process, we will not make you to come at the very end. We will make you to involve at the very initial stage itself. So during the development activity only, right? What we will do, that we'll incorporate even the security related stuff also. Say for example, when the developer is developing, so he said that actually every 2 weeks there is a release, and you have to showcase whatever you develop to the customer. So what the developer will do, the developer will develop the code. And what happened, right? Once he develops the code, the security engineer is going to check the code. Is there any security vulnerabilities with that code? What has been developed? No? Yes. What happened? The code will be given to the testing engineer. So the testing engineer will test it. Again, there will be some kind of a security scan happen to that application or to the code, checking whether any security vulnerabilities are there. No. So it will be given to the operation team. Operation team might go ahead and he might even call some kind of a scans or certain things to verify whether there is any threats are there in that. No threats, then go and deploy into the production. So it means that even the security related aspect also has been incorporated at the very initial stage during the development of the application. Clear? So why this is required? It is very much essential because, guys, it is very much essential because, like, like nowadays, a lot of kind of cyber attacks happens, right? And, like there will be a lot of loopholes in your application itself, right? And also like, so to make sure that your application very highly secure, and you need to provide, always you need to provide a very high secure application to the customer. So that will be kind of a one kind of a prerequisite where the client always expects from you that whenever you are developing an application, right, you have to make sure that the application doesn't involve any kind of a vulnerability issues, right? So you might have come across something, not sure like how many of you might have you might have come across something like known as a log4j security vulnerability. Guys, have you come across with this recently, right? So what happened? This is a log4j tool which is used actually, and like whenever the applications developed by using Java applications. So what the Java developer used to do, right? They used to take this log4j as a tool, and they were using this tool like for some purpose actually. And later what happened, right? When the developers, Java developers, when they were using this log4j, right? The log4j itself has a lot of security vulnerabilities. And when they integrated with log4j with their existing Java applications, they used to have a lot of security loopholes actually. So to make sure that actually that, like, there should not be, already most of the companies, most of the team, they started using log4j, but they didn't know that log4j tool already had some kind of a security threats. Of course, I mean, whatever they developed, that didn't had that security like issues, but this log4j tool had, which they were using as a part of development. Then what they did, right? They found that, okay, now security vulnerability is not, it was not related to my application, which I developed, but it was some kind of a tool, which is log4j tool. So now what happened, right? The Java developers or the developers like community, what they did, right? They upgraded their applications actually. So suppose, for example, it was 1.0 where they incorporate even the log4j, they upgraded it so that it resolves all security vulnerabilities. So like that, you will find a lot of issues actually when you are working on application. So you need to have a very good security strategies so that there will be very less prone to the to the security threats. So you can't make any application 100% security prone, right? Of course, it will be having some kind of an issues actually, right? But at least there is something like where like when you're working or when you're working on certain areas where you know that okay, you are known that okay, there are some security vulnerabilities are there, right? So you have to make sure that actually that the security vulnerability should not come across during the development activity, right? There are some known areas are there. Say for example, Have you heard of something as a ransomware? Have you heard of something as ransomware? Ransomware is something like fair example, like for example, you are having Windows Server, right? So what basically the Microsoft company will do that they'll be keep releasing the some security patches, some kind of upgrades to the operating system, something, right? Suppose that in the company, if you are running an application into some Windows Server where you're not upgraded application to the latest software, what Microsoft develops, right? What Microsoft gives to you, there might be some kind of a security related issue with your operating system itself. So you remember like 3-4 years back, right? There was some kind of an issue where the ATMs were not like upgraded to the latest versions what the Microsoft released, you know, and also like many of the companies, right? Old bank and all, right? They didn't upgrade the system at all. So it was there was a it was a no there were a lot of security vulnerabilities were there with that. So with that, what happened, right? What happened? A lot of ransomware or a lot of hackers used to hack into that, and they used to hack the operating system. They log into the operating system and they hack the application, and they try to make the entire application down, or they lock that application so that the customer cannot use it, right? So such kind of an issue we have seen at the past actually, right? So we would have seen like that. So what they say that actually that okay, whenever you want to avoid any kind of a ransomware, so better please upgrade your operating system, or better you please upgrade all your operating system with latest operating system patches, or networking with the networking related patches. That everything what the Microsoft will do, that they'll be keep releasing it actually, right? You need to, so as a being an administrator or as a being a DevOps engineer, you should make sure that always you need to upgrade it actually. So this is one thing like a security threat actually, right? So there are many like that are there actually, right? So now what you have to do that actually, right? As an engineer, DevOps engineer, you have to make sure that you need to ensure that security scans are performed at every stage in CI/CD pipeline. Correct, guys? Right? So you have to make sure that actually you follow some kind of a security scans in every stage, right? In every stage of your CI/CD pipeline, to make sure that there will not be any kind of a security threats with your application, right? Clear, guys? So any doubts, guys, still here? So by the way, whatever we are saying, that this is what the DevSecOps engine is all about. So DevOps engineers. So this is the roles and activities, roles of DevOps, DevSecOps, roles of DevSecOps. Of course, there are many other are there. I'm saying at the very high level that actually that. So what the DevOps engineer does, that he makes sure that there are always security scans happens in each and every stage of your CI/CD pipeline, right? So the DevSecOps engineer, he has to understand all this process also. He should understand. He will always be aware of even how to build a CI/CD pipeline. He is aware of it. He is aware how to build all the different environments. He is aware of to fix all the issues. Along with that, he is also aware of all kind of a security threats, whatever is as part of application, and how to resolve it. He is aware of it actually. That's what we call him as a DevSecOps engineers. And guys, what happened, right? When you are using a DevSecOps engineer, it means that you will be working on some tools, some kind of a open source tools, or some kind of a proprietary tools or paid tools. So involving in doing any kind of a scan and all, it is little bit costly for the companies actually. So company has to pay some money to buy those licensing softwares or the tools and everything, so that they can do a periodic checks on those applications, uh, right? And also what happened, right? Whatever the tools which we are using actually, like we know that at a certain area, okay, we know that okay, there will be some kind of a security loops in this. So we will make sure that actually, right, at least at the bare minimum, whatever the known areas are there where there are security threats are there, that should be avoided during the initial development stage of my application. Got it? So what I'm trying to, did you understood, guys? Whatever I'm trying to say that. See, suppose assume that. See, now I'll take an analogy now. Say for example, like you have built your home. Suppose you have 60-40 site. Say in case of like you have in Bangalore or in Hyderabad somewhere, and like you're going to build a house, a nice house, right? In a 60-40 site. Now, how we are going to make sure that you are going to keep your home secure? What are the steps you're going to take? Can anyone tell me something on that? Suppose you say that Rajesh, I have built my house, fine, but I have to keep it very highly secure. What you're going to do that?
CC cameras.
Sorry?
CC camera, like
Yeah, you will install the CCTV camera, or else max you're going to take some security guard and keep in front of your home, so that there'll not be any kind of a theft or any kind of a happens to your house. Now, what made you to decide to opt for going with the security? Okay, you build your house, fine. Now you thought about that, okay, I have to make it more secure. But what made you to go to what made you to thought that, okay, I want to keep it more secure? Or what made it? Who gave an idea to you? Or like what came to your mind so that you decided, okay, no, I have to go with the security?
with my like gold something like we have.
Okay, so you said, okay, I have kept a lot of money or gold or something like, okay, for so it should make sure that I should make sure that that theft should not happen, right? Or else this could be some historical reason also, right? Say, for example, like in your area, there could be a lot of theft has happened previously, right? So based on that, okay, you might have heard that your neighbor has been theft. Okay, you have to be more secure now. So you'll go with that, right? Or basically you will go with some previous example, what has past happened to you. So based on your historical experience, you will actually take a decision whether to go or not, right? There are some areas are there where, like anything kind of like theft or something never happened at all. So there, when you construct the house in that area, and you will feel like, okay, no theft has happened here. So basically you'll not go with all kind of installing CCTV and all, right? But yeah, of course, but as an individual, if you have faced it or if you have seen it, within your family people or within your friend circles, if you've seen some kind of a problem has happened, then you will definitely go with installing all those CCTV cameras and make sure that your whole house is secure, right? Similarly, like that, it applies even for the software also. So software is something like where you will not really know, like if there is any security threat, security vulnerabilities are there. Once the security issue comes in, then only you will try to understand, okay, there is something a security issue is there with this application. Then what happened, you will try to fix that actually. So based on the based on the historical experience of within the company or within individual or within the organization, what happened, you will go with using some kind of a security tools, so to make sure that at least my application should not fail in the known areas. See, unknown areas, suppose assume that you are not aware of some security issue which might come in the near future, right? You will not be aware of it, so you need not to worry about that. Suppose assume that there is something which already you know that, okay, there are some security threats which is going to commit, so you have to at least make sure that actually that should not be there as part of when you're developing an application. Right, guys? Do you agree with me? So whichever might come at future or whichever which you are not aware of, that why you need to bother about that? Right? As a DevOps engineer or also a DevOps engineer, I need not to really bother about if some security issues comes in near future, which I'm not really aware of it or which nobody is aware of it. That we can't predict also, right? There is something is that which is already we are aware of it. We have to make sure that that security vulnerability should not be there. Say for example, one more example, like I think you might have heard about something like a OW, what is it, guys? OWASP, like top 10 Kubernetes. See, this is a tool actually, right? Which will tell you that what are the top 10 security risks are there when you are using or when you're working on the Kubernetes environment. Top 10. There are many are there, but you will say the top 10. Now, when you're trying to develop a containerization application and then you try to deploy it into a Kubernetes environment, at least you'll make sure that, okay, what are the top 10 risks are there that should not be there as in my environment, right? So to do that or to make sure that to make it more secure, you will try to use this tool actually. You'll be using some tools. So you know that these are the known areas or these are the known risks are there, right? These are known risks where we should make sure that at least I should not fall in this where no, I should not say that okay, I know it, but I didn't like, see, there's something like where you know it's something, so you'll be more cautious only at the very beginning itself, right? So such way, at least you should be aware of whatever the known security issues are there. At least you try to make sure that your application shouldn't fall under that known areas, actually known risk areas. Correct, guys? Now, fine, this is all fine. So till here, what happened, right? DevSecOps came to the picture where he will make sure that always the security scans happen at every stage, right? And the DevSecOps engineer will also know about like how to build a CI/CD pipeline, how to accept the failures, and how to fix it. That even DevSecOps also knows it. But DevSecOps is more related to the security tools, actually. That's what there will be slight difference when you go for interview. And when you're told that you work on DevSecOps, they will not ask everything. They'll ask only to that region, specific region where you will be. They'll be targeting more on what is the roles and responsibilities of the DevOps SecOps. So ideally, what happened? You will be involved in explaining about a lot of like tools which you have worked on and how exactly you have automated everything by using the tools. Of course, see all these tools, right? Whatever the security tools are there, it to be very specific with you all, right? It doesn't work manually, guys. All the tools, whatever you have related security, right? It is involved completely using automation only, and you cannot involve do everything in the manual will take a lot of time, and of course there is no manual process when you're doing security scans. Actually, you have to follow automated process only. It means that you have a tool, you have to deploy the tool, install the tool, use the tool to do a security scans. Clear? Now this is all fine. Okay, good. Now what happened, right? Now you are going to see that what exactly the SR engineer do, right? What exactly the SR engineer do. So all these days DevOps engineer or DevSecOps engineers, they are only worried about how exactly I can do a CI/CD pipelining and how exactly the deployment happens to your prod environment or to the prod environment or to live environment, and how you are going to give that application to an end customer. This is what the whole DevOps or the DevSecOps does, actually. So the roles and responsibility will get finished to that level where the application will get deployed to the end environment, that is a live environment, and hand over that application to the customer. This is what the DevOps engineer will do. Even more or less, even the DevSecOps will do. Now, guys, now when you deploy an application to the production environment, can you guarantee that the application is going to work? Or can you guarantee that the application will never get failed in the prod environment or in the live environment? We can't guarantee 100%, right? There would be some kind of a possibility where the application might fail. Say, for example, you are deploying an application to the server, and suddenly what happened? The application has stopped working in the production, I'm saying. Now, what you do as an engineer, you try to log into the server and check it, and there you found, okay, man, in the C drive, there's no free space available at all. Hence, my application went down. Ah, okay, fine. So maybe what happened, right? Sometime what happened, the disk space might be full, right? So when the disk space is completely full, and when your application is running, the application might be doing it might be logging a lot of logs, and to put the logs, right, it needs some storage or it needs some disk space. So the disk space is full, so it is unable to store the logs into the disk, actually. So your application stop working, right? That could be the case. Or else assume that in production environment, maybe because of some kind of a antivirus security scans happening, right? Like what happened when the antivirus security scans starts, right? It consumes a lot of CPU cycles, or it consumes a lot of CPU utilization or CPU power it needs. So what happened, right? During that time, when some kind of security scans is happening or antivirus scan is happening, right, where the CPU is highly utilized for that, your application might go down. It might not work properly. So what I'm trying to tell that actually that, guys, you cannot guarantee that even your application, you developed it, even it is working in a production environment, you cannot guarantee that your application is going to work always 100%. There might be a chance where the application might go down even from your production environment. Now for that, what you need to do? What you have to make sure that your application doesn't go down at all. What is it you have to do, guys? You have to make sure that you have to do some kind of a effective monitoring mechanism. So you need to have some kind of a effective monitoring. This is exactly what the SRE does actually. Effective monitoring mechanism. We have to adopt this actually mechanisms, right? Now, for to do that actually, guys, there are two approaches are there actually. So to do that, we have two approaches, or you have something like a two metrics piece actually. So what is it? Something like you have to do a proactive actually. Proactive approach, and other is a something like a reactive approach. What do you mean by that? Proactive. Proactive is something like, what does it mean by proactive, guys? Proactive is something like which which you're already aware, right? Say for example, you know that actually like my application is running, and you see that my disk is just 1 GB free disk is available. Okay, and you know that at every hour, right, some 100 MB of data will be dumped into the disk actually. So you know that actually in the next 10 hours, my application is going to stop because the disk is going to get full, right? So what happened? You're already aware of it actually. Then why you allow it to happen actually? So what you'll do, you'll take a precaution step to make sure that your disk is freed, right? Or else you add more disks so that your application doesn't fail. It's similarly with the RAM memory. Suppose a RAM, a lot of processes running. And when your application is running, you see that actually in your RAM memory, you see that there is not memory left, memory available. So you will definitely come to know that, okay, after some point of time, my application is going to fail because there is no free RAM available. Then you need to precautionally take a step, right, to make sure that your RAM memory is uh, like uh, uh, like minimum some memory should be available in the RAM so that my effectively or efficiently my application should able to work, right? So you have to be a very proactive in many things, right? So that's the reason what happened, right? In many organization, what you do, right? You tend to use some kind of a monitoring tool or monitoring system where you'll get a very early alerts. Suppose that your disk is going above 70%, you'll get an alert notification over the email, or you get some kind of a tickets you'll get where you will try to proactively work on that, right? Similarly, your CPU is going more than 80% of the CPU utilization. Okay, your RAM is going more than 90% of RAM usage. You will get some kind of alert note. That is something proactive, which is always required actually. You know that in every organization, every company, proactive approach is always required because you need to make sure that your application like it shouldn't fail in the production environment. So to do that, actually, you have incorporated a lot of proactive approach so that you will make sure that things never go wrong. It means that you need to fix upfront only all the things, right? Reactive approach is something, guys, where you might not know, maybe like due to some reason the application stopped working, right? It will stop working, it suddenly stops actually working, or right? So now what as a DevOps engineer will do, you'll make sure, okay, let me do one thing, let me check what exactly logs, okay, because when the application was running, or executing, it might have generated a lot of logs. So I need to go to the logs, try to identify what is that logs is all about, and check in the logs, right? What exactly the behavior of the application. Try to identify, okay, under which stage the application stopped working, and try to fix it. And you make sure that like you fix it as soon as possible, right? So that is one of the important tasks of the SR engineer, that actually he has to have even the reactive approach also. It means that when he sees any issues, or whenever any issue comes, right, he need to reactively work on that issue, right, and try to fix as soon as possible, right? So maybe in within few minutes or few hours, or within few hours, he should be able to fix it very quickly. Because whenever anything, a thing happens, right, like maybe the application might fail, which we are not aware of. Then what happened? You need to reactively take the decision of how to fix the issue. right? So you need to log into the system. You'll verify again one more time, like, okay, whether like there is an issue with the system, whether the network is fine in the system, fine, or network is okay, everything is fine, whether all the softwares are up and running, yes, it is up and running, okay, whatever the software stack is required, whether that is working fine, okay, it is working fine, or CPU utilization, disk utilization, RAM utilization, everything is fine, oh, everything is fine. Now still, why the application got failed? Oh, okay, go and check the various logs. So there would be a lot of various logs will be there, right? The application log will be there, right? Like for example, the Apache log will be there. For example, the application GC log will be there. Event logs will be there. So you need to go across with lot of different log files, understand it very quickly, and try to arrive with the solution, or try to understand, okay, at this point of time, okay, this was a reason for which the application got failed, and take a steps actually to fix it actually. Is it clear, guys? So effective monitoring mechanism using approaches mentioned below. Okay, so one second, guys. So guys, I know it was like too much kind of theoretical, but it was required actually, right? Do you agree with me, guys? All of you?
Yes, sir.
So, are you finding interesting, or somewhat it's boring? I know it's fully theoretical thing what I discussed till now, but it was required actually, because we need to understand all these things. Because before we start getting into the other things, right? Let us have the background on all these things, so that you'll be able to understand very clearly what exactly the SRE is all about actually, right? That's what I started discussing about the roles and responsibilities of the DevOps or DevSecOps and SREs actually, right? So now, so guys, for this effective monitoring mechanisms approaches, we use these two approaches actually, proactive and reactive actually. So why we do this actually, right? Because there are two important metrics are there actually. There, of course, there are many metrics are there, but we will be discussing now whether two important metrics. One is something as a MTTR, means mean time to recover. I think you might have heard about this terminology. Some of you might have, somebody might have, many terminologies are there, or many metrics terminologies are there, like MTTR is there, MTTF is there, mean time to failure. All these terminologies or metrics are required, guys, by the SR engineer. He has to understand it actually. So what is this MTTR actually? Mean time to recover. It's something like how fast you can recover from the failure, right? Say, for example, if you are able to recover everything within a few minutes, it means that, okay, fine. It means that actually you are able to reduce the MTTR. It means that actually you will be, make sure that actually whenever any failure happens, right, how fast you can fix it actually. Suppose you are taking few hours or few days, right, then it is not a good way, right? Right. So you would see that in many organizations, this MTTR is something like where, most of the higher senior management, or the senior people who sit in the organization, right? They're very much interested with this MTTR value. Even in my previous organization where I worked earlier, like we were very much like stressing on more on this MTTR value. Now, what is this MTTR value? It means that actually, suppose like you came across with some kind of failures where, some kind of a database issue was there, where the application is not able to connect because of the database service was down, right? You got an alert notification for that, or is you will get the alert notification of something like like huge number of threats are being created by the application. It has hogged it, and the application became down. It couldn't execute, right, like that. Or as there could be some kind of a huge utilization of the CPU, huge utilization of the RAM, huge utilization of the disk. You might have come across with a lot of issues on a day-to-day activity. And now what happened, right? As a DevOps engineer, what is your roles and responsibilities, that actually how fast you're going to fix that issue. If you're taking only few minutes to fix that issue, then you're good at that actually. It means that there is no issue. Suppose if you're taking more and more time to fix it actually, then there is some issue with the process or with the application actually. So usually what happened, right? In every company, what are the team works, what are the DevOps team work, right? This metrics, this metrics is very important actually. So as part of the management, right, they will see in your team how much time they took to fix it actually. So they will take an average of the average of the work, and they try to see that okay, if there is something like an SLA guys actually, right? There's some like a service level agreement, what we say actually. We say that actually, like if something like if any ticket comes in, right? If any ticket comes, that in many of the organization we use some kind of a tool known as a ServiceNow tool actually. Some of you might have seen this ServiceNow tool, in ticketing tool we used actually, and many companies they use their own ticketing system actually. And also we use the Jira tool also to do it actually. But Jira tool is not basically for the ticketing systems, right? We have a HPM ALM tool, ticketing tool is there, ServiceNow ticketing tool is there. But you will see that this ticketing tool is very much used in almost most of the organization. Now what happened, right? Whenever you get the ticket actually, suppose that you get a ticket where there will be kind of a priority one ticket. You will get the ticketing information where it says that the ticket is in a high priority, it's a priority one. It means that you need to fix the ticket, or you need to immediately, to have a reactive approach to fix that issue. So what is it actually? You say that, okay, Rajesh, there is something like I got a ticket where it says that actually like the application is not able to connect to the database because the data service is down actually. So, and what happened, whenever you come across with that ticket where it says that the ticket is a priority one, so it means that actually guys, you need to fix the issue within 30 minutes. That is an SLA will be given to you. As a DevOps engineer, you should make sure that you're fixing within the 30 minutes. If you're taking more than 30 minutes or you're taking some few hours, it means that your MTTR is increasing. So if it is increasing, then what happened? Then what happened? Your management or your manager is going to ask you that why you took so much of time to fix it actually. So similarly, what happened, right? You might get across with some tickets where the priority is little low, like priority is 2, where they might say that you please fix this issue within 60 minutes. And there are some other tickets are there where the priority is 3, where they might say that you can fix in either in 3 hours or within 3 hours. So based on the metrics, right, guys, actually, based on this priority and the SLA, right, this MTTR will be like, it will be fluctuating. It will be that it will be increasing, it will be decreasing, it will be decreasing. So the higher management will always see that the average mean time to recover, right, which team has took less time to fix any kind of a ticketing, priority tickets, either priority 1, priority 2. So they're going to reward that team actually. I don't know, like in your organization, I have worked earlier, I worked in Lumen Technologies, right? In that, actually, we were more bothered about this MTTR value also. Right. So, and also like if the MTTR is more high end or year on year, it means that the whole team is not performing well, or there is some kind of a problem with the process. They'll try to fix it. Right. So you should always make sure that the MTTR value shouldn't be very like high. It should be very low. It should be only in terms of minutes, not hours also. Of course, there are some issues that it might take hours together, but there is a reason for that actually. And obviously, when you are explaining about that issue to the management or to team, that you will tell why you took so much time. There is a reason for that actually. But but there are many are there which are nothing but the proactive approaches. You know that it is going to come. It is going to know that you're going to come. For such issues, right, you need to proactively work, and you should make sure that as soon as the ticket comes, right, you assign it and you try to fix it as soon as possible. Suppose sometime what happened, many of the engineers, like even I was doing that, we used to assign the ticket, and when we used to never work, we used to take whole day to, we used to take whole day to fix it, or we used to take a lot of time to do it. Even though we could have done in few minutes or few hours, right? We took whole day. Then what happened? Our MTTR was getting increasing. Episode it was getting increasing, and at the end of the month when they generate the graphs, right, when they generate some metrics, they see that okay, Rajesh has took so much of, he worked on 40 tickets, but he has took so much of over. Then the question will come to me that okay, what kind of a priority tickets, how many tickets you have worked? Oh, priority 1, this much tickets have worked, priority 2, but still why your MTTR is more? You have worked on 40 tickets, you took so many number of hours, So then I need to give an explanation about that. So then what happened, right? Your performance is all depend upon that metrics value also. So they will say that, okay, Rajesh is not performing well because he's not fixing on time. He's taking more time to fix it. So this is what in the companies, they calculate that NPTR base. Clear? Now, so now the SRE, what is SRE is all about? SRE is all about is how he does an effective monitoring system. How is incorporated to make sure that, see, SRE doesn't bother about the deployment of that application. Application is deployed at the end, fine. I'm not bothered about that. I'm more bothered about the monitoring system, like whether my application is up or not, whether my server is up and running or not, right? Whether the whole environment is okay, right? And also you need to, precaution, take some measures so that you need to make sure that some kind of a issue shouldn't come in the future. That all comes as a part of SRE. So SRE doesn't mean that like you only learn this monitoring, okay, you'll get the job. No, SRE should also learn about the DevOps work. He should be aware, he should have a knowledge on that. He should also have a decent amount of knowledge on how DevSecOps works. It means that he should have a knowledge even on what kind of a security tools which have been used in the organization. And also you should have a very knowledge, very good information knowledge on even monitoring system. So SRE is actually, it's a combination of everything. SRE is a combination of DevOps plus DevSecOps and the monitoring mechanism or monitoring system. Yeah, of course, for this, like we will be using a lot of tools, right? What are those tools and how they come as part of this SRE, we will be discussing in our upcoming sessions, right? So right now you understand, okay, there has to be some effective monitoring system should be enabled within our organization so that you can take a steps to make sure that you either you follow the proactive or you follow the reactive approaches. Clear, guys? So guys, today it was much like a theoretical. I thought I will be covering more, but it's almost like more than 1.5 hour class, right? So what we will do, we will going to stop it today, and then we are going to continue our next session on Wednesday. So where I'll be discussing about some more aspect about what exactly about this SRE. We'll continue from here itself, right? And then like we will try to build a system or try to build an application or try to see how exactly the applications are built, right? And then like where and all you can put this monitoring system in our complete CI/CD pipeline. Of course, when you're developing it, you build a CI/CD pipeline, right? To do a deployment, right? Similarly, you need to even do a continuous monitoring also. Along with the CI/CD pipeline, you should even do the continuous monitoring also. So what is this continuous monitoring is all about and everything, how it falls during the CI/CD pipelining itself, right? Why we need to do the continuous monitoring, as well as what are the tools which are available in the market where we can use for that monitoring. Everything we will be discussing in our next session. Is it clear, guys? So I hope that guys you understood today's session and like we will see Karthik. See, Karthik, 8:30 you mentioned 8:30 p.m. It might be little late for some people, but we will discuss it. Okay, I don't have any issue taking at 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, right? We'll see. Actually, I know that some of you are working. Many of you are like having a like you'll be working on late evenings also. I do understand that concern. So let us see. Let us discuss, and I'll take this point, and I will see if we can take it up at around 8:30 or so. We'll take it. I don't have any issue taking the class at 8:30 to 10 on any days or on Wednesdays. Clear? Fine, guys. So I hope that guys today's session was fruitful for you all, and you understood the basic roles and responsibilities of DevOps and DevSecOps as well as even SRE. SRE we have not completed. I just told you the very high level. In our next session, we are going to discuss further on what exactly the further roles and responsibility of the SRE engineers and how the continuous monitoring systems will be set up and how it will be a part of your pipeline, and plus like what are the tools which we will be using as part of the continuous monitoring, and what are the tools we will be covering as part of this course. Those things and all we'll be discussing in our next session. So guys, before I stop it, like let me know if you have any doubts. Any questions as part of today's session?
No.
Okay. Fine, guys. Then let me stop this recording.